I've been living in Neukölln for like a month, and my friends tell me there is a farmer's market at Platz every Saturday. So if they're right, I'm gonna have a great time. I'm walking there now. The walk's kind of part of the whole thing. It's sunny, it's early. I get to walk across Hertha. It goes over the S-Bahn. It's literally my favourite place in Berlin. And I see it. The people weren't lying, there's a farmer's market. I succeeded. There was a coffee stand, so I have an oat iced latte. And they also had pastel del latte. It's nice. All of the stalls are just around the outside, and then there are tables in the middle. Tables are really nice. They're all like wood, and some of the chairs even have cushions on them. It's not too overwhelming at all. There's like one place to get fruit and veg, one place to get bread, and then the stalls, I can see someone selling schnitzel, someone selling pizza, and someone selling like Chinese food. How perfect. What a success. I think my strategy was perfect. Get a coffee and something to eat and then sit and kind of think. And by the time I'd finished my coffee and had my pastry, I knew what I wanted to buy. I'm going to make some orzo, like a brothy orzo, I think. I got 2 lemons, I got 1 bulb of fennel, I got some leeks, and they had the fattest bulbs of garlic I've ever seen, so I had to get one. And they also had some rhubarb, so I bought some rhubarb. I want to stew it, and then I want to keep that in the fridge and have it on top of muesli, on top of yogurt. And then I just happened to walk past this Greek stall. I guess he was selling like packaged Greek produce, and he had some anchovies. He had 2 kinds of anchovies, and he was like, which kind do you want? And I was like, I don't know. And he was like, you should take these ones. He was like, die sind unglaubbar lecker. They're unbelievably good. Du musst mir nächstes Mal Bescheid sagen. You have to tell me how you found them next time. Which was super nice. And then he also happened to have like orzo, and so I've literally left the farmer's market and I have everything that I need to cook. Oh, I'm gonna go every Saturday. So this orzo was super easy and all one pot, which meant washing up was beautiful. I started by slicing some leek and some fennel and some shallots, and then I put them in a pan with some olive oil. I sliced some garlic. Here it is in the pot. You really want to cook it until it properly caramelizes. Once it's there, you can add the anchovies and they'll kind of just melt in, and then you can see all the browning on the bottom of the pan, which you want to deglaze with some white wine. Then you can add stock. This was about 1 litre of vegetable stock, and then I added about 300 grams of orzo. I also added some lemon. You might want to add the lemon like half at a time, taste, and then keep going. I added too much lemon, tasted it, was like, wow, too zingy, and had to then salt it. But then just cook for about half an hour until the orzo is cooked through. It was so easy. I'd say all in all this took about 1.5 hours to chop everything, and then you really want to give it a long time to caramelize the base. And then again, it took a while for the stock to heat up and for the pasta to cook. But that's important to me when I'm taking the time to meal prep. I think the point is to make something that you wouldn't have time to make during the week. You know, I don't really think there's so much point in bulk cooking a lot of things that are quick to cook, like frying 5 chicken breasts or something, because that only takes 20 minutes anyway. You really want to build up the flavour. And then you can use that flavour every time you reheat it to creatively think about what you're going to have on top. So here I did some yogurt, anchovies, some black pepper, a little bit of olive oil, and it was delicious. Then I started stewing my rhubarb, which was fabulously easy. I just sliced the rhubarb into like 2 centimeter chunks. I took 1 orange and then I literally just plonked everything together in a pot. So there goes the rhubarb, then I squeeze the orange, and then you just want to cook it over a gentle heat until it gets to the texture you like. It takes about 10 minutes, I'd say. I like some bits stringy, but some bits still to have their texture. And then I popped it in a jar, and I thought this would be good for breakfasts and desserts. So here I tried it just on top of some yogurt. While it was still warm, I made sure to get some extra juice in there. I added honey because I didn't add any sugar, so I knew it would need sweetness, and pistachios because the green looked great with the pink. So this one doesn't really fit into my meal prep, whereby you have to build loads of flavour and take loads of time. But the other tenet to my philosophy of meal prep is not to do too much. Don't make yourself a full meal. I like cooking. It makes me feel creative, and so I want to do a little bit during the week. But also I think meal prep can be so soul destroying because it's the same thing over and over again, but with things like this that you can use as a base like the orzo or as a topping like the rhubarb, means you just end up eating and making variations on a theme. So the first variation for my rhubarb was yogurt and muesli to bulk it out, with some rhubarb, some cinnamon. Again, I added some honey because it really did need the sweetness, and this made a really good, really quick and delicious breakfast. The next thing I did with my rhubarb was pancakes because I had a very ripe banana, so I popped that in a bowl and I mashed it up. Then I cracked in 1 egg and I made my liquid, and I used this liquid to then eyeball how many dry ingredients I would need. So flour, salt, baking powder, and then I stirred it together and added a bit of milk just to make it the right texture. I put some butter in a pan, let it coat the base of the pan, and poured the excess back into my batter. And then I fried the batter just in a cast iron pan. You want to wait until holes appear in the top and then flip. And then to serve the pancakes, I did yogurt on 1/2, rhubarb, of course, on the other half. I also toasted some flaked almonds in my pan, and then honey.
I whisk at a moderate speed.
The next thing I did with my rhubarb was a dessert for me and my friend. We made some polenta by whisking polenta with 4 times as much milk, and then we popped it in our bowls. We added a square of white chocolate in the middle of each just for some sweetness, and because white chocolate will be nice.
So who do you think I am?
And then we put the rhubarb on top and some pistachios because polenta needs some crunch. And it was really good.
Okay, Georgia.
The first time I reheated the orzo was the most simple of all of them. I just popped it in a bowl. I added some olive oil to make it all shiny, and then I just didn't really want to do anything else, and I wanted some comfort food, so I took some parmesan. I grated a ginormous heap on top. I thought the salt would be good with the lemoniness of the orzo. Then I added some black pepper, and it was perfect. This was more adventurous. I fried some chicken in some olive oil, and while that was going, I reheated the orzo with a little bit of water. I also then tipped the chicken cooking oil into the orzo because I knew it would taste really good. Then I popped it in a bowl, laid my chicken on top, and did some parsley and pepper. At this point in the week, I felt like I needed some vegetables, so I took the courgette I got at the market and I fried it in some olive oil. While that was starting to fry, I diced a clove of garlic and also a little bit of fresh thyme to flavour the courgette, and then right at the end I tipped that into the pan. Then I took my orzo as usual, put it in my bowl, and then placed my courgettes with garlic and thyme and the olive oil all drizzled on top, and this was delicious. This one felt like the most indulgent of all of them, but was really easy. I just poached an egg and then put my orzo in the bowl as usual, made a little space for my egg, and then I tipped the egg on top of the pasta, and it looked kind of gorgeous. Then I laid a singular anchovy on top because eggs are better with salt and anchovies are salty, then some black pepper, and wow. I popped the yolk and kind of stirred everything through, and then the orzo got really rich because of the runny yolk. This was awesome. Okay, so it's just a universal truth that things are going to taste better if you reheat them in a pot rather than in the microwave. And then when you eat it, it feels like it's just been cooked instead of just been nuked in a microwave. You can make sure everything reheats evenly, but you do want to add liquid, I find. So sometimes just boiling water from the kettle, wine if you feel like treating yourself, or even butter, maybe some stock. And as you saw, also sometimes cooking oil if you're cooking things on the side as well. It's just a much more satisfying experience.